is Kara Spooner, and I am the artistic producer at Dancemakers. Our leadership is currently structured as an artistic producer and a series of guest curators. I think it's currently set up that way in response to the company kind of collapsing and easing back in a very slow and intentional way, and bit by bit kind of learn about the realities and contexts that we're all now making in. I think that the challenges with this kind of structure is that each curator, it's a challenge and it's a plus, but each curator is building their own worlds. And so in a way, there's a kind of little bit of a feeling of building from scratch each time, which I think also has a lot of benefits because the curators can really select the locations, the scale they're working at, who's involved, how it's put together. But because it's not repeatable, there's always kind of the figuring out that happens. I think one of the benefits of this kind of structure is that it's really allowing the company to try out different approaches. And because we're still in such a state of learning and finding the new structures and gathering feedback, it allows each project to kind of gather new information, in a way kind of stretching what's possible within various different dance forms. The decision-making process with this structure is mostly selection committees. So bringing in a range of people to select who the curators are, provide input or recommendations. And that's changing. Like coming up, we'll have another call and a new group will be brought in to offer that feedback. And then within each of the projects, once the curator is selected, they have a lot of agency. It's not really up to me or my role. We're kind of an open container that shifts and adapts based on what's needed and what's wanted. I entered into this role because when the new board took over, they held the organization for almost a year. They wrote operating grants and sustained things until they were ready to have an open call for an artistic producer. They also hired a community consultant, Helen Young, to be a part of that process. So in a way, I just saw the call. I think the training needed for entering into a role like this kind of can't come from just one thing. I don't think an artistic producer or someone who's supporting a range of projects learns a certain approach and then that is the thing. I think also because I entered into the role without any prior experience, I had to learn a lot about some of the larger structures and architecture of how the arts operate in Canada. And in a way, just jumping in, having models of other arts organizations who only have one staff member has also been really useful. I think that Dancemakers is still figuring out what it is. And so even in describing this approach, this has been the last year, and that will change and shift and refine based on continued community feedback and input, and knowing that because it's so adaptable, that it can continue to shift and change as more people get folded in.